Hey guys, so I know 3.0 just dropped, and with that comes Dendro, but let's talk about Geo for a minute. Zhongli is currently on the radar banner. Should you pull form? Well, hopefully this little guide and showcase helps you to decide. And yeah, let's get into it. So let's go over his kit real quick. He has a very simple kit. Basically, he has very high base HP, and his skill can generate a shield that scales off of his HP. And as you can see, at level 90, he has 30k HP with only an HP sand. So until level 9, this shield is at 8,500, but because it's a Geo shield, it's actually about 13,000, which is pretty big. And also, very important, is that the shield will give a 20% universal resistance shred. And his burst is a low-cost nuke with pretty high scaling due to it being Geo, and it has a unique effect of petrifying enemies. His first talent makes the shield a bit stronger, and second talent makes his burst scales a little bit out of his HP, which makes it deals pretty decent damage. So there are two builds that I usually use him. So the first build is the burst support DPS build. The damage is pretty decent. I'm using a level 90 Black Cliff and 2-piece Noblesse and 2-piece Petra. At level 9, it deals about 65k solo, 75k with Geo Resonance, 110k with Bennett. Because this Q actually has pretty high scaling, it scales really well when used with Bennett. I usually use this build when his shield at 30k HP is enough. Usually use it when I don't mind the shield breaking, or I'm using it with a high defense or having some kind of damage reduction. So if you want to use this build, I recommend not using attack percent or HP%, because as you can see, his burst scales off both attack and HP. However, they both, in the final damage calculation, they both affected by percent damage. Hence why I'm using the Black Cliff and this artifact setup. But yeah, with that said, let's go into the second build, which is the build I usually use more. So this build is very simple. We go triple HP on all the pieces. So with triple HP in a 4-piece tenacity set and a level 60 Black Cliff, my Zhongli is now a little bit over 50k HP. And now his shield, if I'm not wrong, is almost 18,000. And I use this build a bit more often because I slot him into a healer slot. Because with the burst build, sometimes 30k HP is not enough to face tank enemies, sometimes that one-shot you. And because there are no healers, I do not want the shield to break, so I make it as big as possible. Now another thing I want to mention is one of the team I use him with. Now as you may have known, Yoimiya is one of those characters that really needs the interruption resistance from Zhongli's shield. And on top of that, there are 3 damage dealers, and this is where his universal resistance shred really come in handy. And last thing I want to mention is that his shield is still pretty much the only way for a free-to-play to reliably get an Anemo resistance shred. So if you have an Anemo DPS like Zhao, which I do as well, it will definitely bring up the damage. Alright, so those are the builds that I usually run him with. Now let's talk about my experience with Zhongli. So, you know, I've had him since 1.5, so it was about a year and a half ago. Just a long time. And I've got to say, I really like his overall design. I really like the way his shield looks. And on top of that, his burst animation is also very nice. But as for gameplay, his shield makes the game a lot more comfortable. You don't have to worry about dodging as much, so it makes it even more enjoyable. And as you can see, I currently have him in a burst DPS build. In the overworld, it's very fun to just put up a shield, go into a camp, and use his burst, and absolutely obliterates a Hilichurl camp. And since his burst is only 40 cost, with just a little bit of ER, he can get his burst up really quickly. And Zhongli is also a mining archon. I have about 3,000 of those purple weapon EXP crystals, but for some reason, whenever I walk past a mining spot, I get the urge to just collect them all. and Zhongli makes it a lot easier, and it's pretty satisfying. Mining with a claymore is a bit tedious at times. But now, let's talk about the Spiral Abyss. I see Zhongli as if you get knocked back or you die, that means no DPS. Simple as that. And like I said, his shield makes it really comfortable to play with, and because usually if you play this game long enough, you probably have the gear to clear the abyss very easily. So even though Zhongli doesn't give that big of a damage increase, you can still clear the abyss. Just make it a lot more enjoyable to do with Zhongli. So that's my view on the Spiral Abyss. But anyways, that is the showcase and a little guide with it. I would still pull for him if I didn't have him now. But yeah, hopefully this video helps you out, and thanks for watching. Also, here's a secret Zhongli tip. So if you place this pillar and you have your character face the pillar, when you use your burst, you will not get a zoom in animation.